All right. Good morning, YouTube. I think we're live. Let's try this again today. Google is having problems, I've noticed, with several other channels as well. Because I was reading at least 4x4 yesterday on my end, but the whole thing came out garbage the other end, even from beginning to end. I don't understand it. Google doesn't do a good job. I think if you're not on DSL, they don't like to have their servers talking to you. Well, good morning. How's everybody out there doing? Whoa. Is this the current chat? Holy cow, you guys filled it up already. Good morning, folks. There you can see the weather with that rain that's hitting the East Coast once again, and quite a bit of snow in other places as well, lake effects in western Pennsylvania, et cetera, it looks like. The storm continues to deliver. March continues to deliver. We are clear as a bell out here and enjoying some very spring, summerish weather with highs near 70, etc. 80s down in Vegas, 90s probably in Phoenix, etc. Places like that. So I feel sorry for you, Stinger, wherever you are. It might be even worse there. But let's go in the side chat here while we got everybody looking at the weather. So we've got Tommy Boy 9 with us, 01 Crom with his donuts, bacon, and coffee. Triple score. You're set. Tommy Boy had his breakfast. Yeah, Tommy Boy. Since you're on the subject, let me go to that. Let me go to that story. They're putting warning signs on coffee in California, including like Starbucks and other places like that. There you go. They're talking about it in the side check. Crom, I had pulled this up this morning. It just baffles the mind. Like, how long have people been drinking coffee? Like, okay, and now you're going to tell them, you know how cranky people are going to get you start taking their coffee away from them, right? If you want to start some business, let's take away the coffee. Let's see what happens to people. We'll get some serious mental illness going around here, right? So Crom says he thought it was a Cali law. It's Cali, and to warn California of carcinogens in coffee. So let's read on down. So maybe it's not coffee itself. Maybe manufacturers are putting stuff in it. A nonprofit sued several companies that sell coffee and retailers in 2010, claimed that the Starbucks and other coffee distributors and realtors violated state law, which requires them to warn consumers about chemicals in the roasting process that may cause cancer. One of those is acrylamide. Okay, so it's not just about the coffee. And we have a roasting plant up here, I believe, down in Carson Valley. I think that there's one of these places. Attorneys from 90 companies said the chemical is present in the process, but it's at harmless levels, kind of like mercury and everything else. It's harmless, right? Radiation, it's harmless levels. When you roast something, why do you have to put a chemical in it to roast it? I don't get that. I guess that's to find out more about the roasting process. Like, is it come out of the, what are they using to apply heat? Natural gas? Is it a residue of natural gas that floats up into the air and gets on the beans and then gets ground in? I don't know. Maybe somebody's got some good answers out here. And got Walter Davis with us, Barry Wood, M. Long, all with us. 01 is, you getting some weather where you're at? trace amounts of bad stuff. Yeah, that's what it looks like. They only mentioned this one in particular, acrylamide. Acrylamide. You may want to look that up. I'm not sure what the implication is with that, but they got sued for it. And now California says you have to put a warning label on your stuff in California. Let me look this up real quick as we're getting into the weeds a little bit. Everybody's concerned about their coffee, right? So acrylamide is a chemical compound with a chemical formula C3H5NO. It's a white, odorless, crystalline solid soluble in water, ethanol, ether, and chloroform. You can put a little bit in your chloroform to start your day. American Cancer Society says acrylamide is found in cigarette smoke, starchy foods during high temperature cooking, such as frying, roasting, and baking. That's interesting. So it forms under heat from other compounds, it looks like. Found in cigarette smoke, industrial processes. I'll put this link in the chat in the bottom of the description box as well. Guten Morgen, Malnigen, Ninja. Was ist los? There's that. So you can look up acrylamide. That's in your coffee, apparently. At least the way it's roasted with Starbucks and some other companies. American Cancer Society says acrylamide has probably always been in some foods, but this wasn't known until Swedish scientists first found it in certain foods in 2002. It is formed when starchy foods are cooked at high temperatures, about above 250 degrees. Causes a chemical reaction between certain sugars and an amino acid in the food, which forms acrylamide. So it's something that forms. That's why we all die. We all cook stuff. There you go, Crum. You got it. Carcinogens naturally occurring from fire. There you go. Good morning, Saint. How you doing? I think the air is labeled in California as well, Walter Davis. I do believe it is. So that's your feel good of the day, that they're going to regulate your coffee out of existence because of something that occurs during the roasting process. Probably the heat gets on the outer shell of the coffee and forms it, and it gets ground up and roasted in, yada, yada. There you go. So make sure you get your exercise in along with it. So to get off that buzzkill, let's go to Where's Spring? This is out of the Weather Channel, talking about asking the question, what happened to spring? Which a lot of people, everybody east of Kansas City seems to be asking this question. Showing above average cold in those locations for the spring, and I think everybody in North Dakota and South Dakota, et cetera, is used to this type of spring, so probably not so much an effect there. So winter not quite going away in places where you don't quite expect it to go away. Not a big deal, but lots of rain. The wetness of this March has been pretty dramatic out there. It looks like, Imlong. What say you? So just a little bit of snow, dash of snow for your end of March pleasure out there in the Dakotas, etc. So early April, though, considering everything above that jet stream line to stay relatively below average temperatures. So something to look forward to out there. All right. In the description box, if you want to check out the weather. Going back out in the side chat. Oh, goodness. Kevin Stoll's with us. Good morning. How you doing? Yeah, did you see Mule's video he did? I had to look it up too. I found his Chinese founding members and patron saints of the church, so we're getting warmed up there, Kevin. It was pretty. It was tongue in cheek, but funny just the same. Moni just says food that is over 100 degrees can give you mouth cancer, so that includes coffee, I guess. But thanks for joining us, folks. So that's the weather. We know that coffee causes cancer. We might as well call it a day and just wait for Monday, right? As the misery is set in. But now let's just bounce on over here. We've been talking a lot about the Russian thing. It's continued to fester, and we got Russia expelling its diplomats as a little revised story this morning, kind of bounced around yesterday. They're closing the American consulate in St. Petersburg and expelling 60 diplomats. And they say it's all based upon that Russian guy getting killed in England that they say was nerve agent or some form of other poisoning. So this back and forth continues to go. And yet we covered yesterday about how the Russians had an approved pipeline across the EU in the middle of all this mess. It's like money talks, right? So just to give you the updated tally, NATO is in 25 allies have expelled about 130 Russian diplomats in support and solidarity with the UK. The UK kicked out a total of 23 foreign Russian diplomats and such people. The US is 60 are being told to leave the country. And the Russians are kicking out 58. It's just a nice little game of chess of some sort. But more importantly, the Russians are now planning a missile drill, it looks like, to show a force about all this mess, which doesn't make any sense. It's like going over and flexing your muscle for what? But missile, this is on Zero Hedge. Command and staff exercise of 3 missile armies. I've never heard of a missile army, but I guess that's the way they organize the Russian Strategic Missile Force. The Russian news agency reported about 10,000 troops and 1,000 pieces of combat hardware will be involved in the exercise. Is that, I guess that 1,000 pieces is rolling stock? I mean, do you include that 1,000 helmets? And what's combat hardware? If you're 10,000 troops, there's going to be at least 10,000 pieces of combat hardware, right? Maybe they're just talking about rolling stock. Vehicles, things that roll on the ground. For the first time, large-scale exercises of the strategic missile forces will use more than 10 newest models of weapons and military equipment that will demonstrate their capabilities. More than 3,000 servicemen and 300 weapons and military equipment involved. That's a different quote than above. That was from Wednesday. I guess they upped the number between the two announcements. So more back and forth, but more to the point. You know, how are we gonna battle these fools? And you see a article like this one pop up. Army molds a tougher basic training for out of shape, undisciplined recruits. I got a plan for the Army. Send them to Parris Island. They'll take care of it for you. Send them back to you. You'll be good to go. People been telling the Army for decades, get your stuff in order, and they kept slipping, and now they're having to go back. Unfortunate thing about the Army is they are definitely a reflection of the broader culture more so than the other military services. They just take what they get and they deal with it. So, citing a disturbing new trend of soldiers lacking both proper discipline and physical fitness, senior Army leaders are calling for a tougher and longer basic training program to prepare troops for combat over the next decade. Right. Sad state of affairs we're in. So they're talking about adding 2 weeks to its 10-week program. It expected to be implemented by early this summer. They're going with it. So they're going to do it. 2 extra weeks, 12 weeks, one shy of 13 that the Marine Corps has been doing since like the 80s. They have to complete the Army physical fitness at the end of this 2 weeks, it looks like. Oh, wait, they're going through all the different phases they currently go through. They have a white phase, blue phase, Army phase lines. Always fun to talk about. So the Russians are training out there, putting out missile brigades and armies, and we're trying to get people physically fit enough to carry firearms and such. Again, a broader reflection of society that it supports. We got going on in the side chat. You guys talking about the omnibus? What brought that up? That's old news. We got gun studies, injuries to health threats. Trump can't ban them without Congress writing a law, yada, yada. Rand Paul tweeted about the deals in the omnibus. You guys are off the reservation here. I don't even know what you're talking about. Everybody better join the NRA, says Mall Ninja. You get all the good goody stuff. Gun Owners of America is a solid organization. What's up, Kevin? Right, Kevin? That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. And it does. I don't think we are. There's a lot of this showmanship because we just talked yesterday about Russia building an EU pipeline that was approved. So they're building an oil gas pipeline across the EU from Eastern Europe. Russians are. So it can't be too serious, right? Cut to build the empire, Kevin, right? Buy ammo before they ban sales. Buy what you need. Remember, when you get to use the stuff, you'll find stuff on the ground to be able to pick up. So just buy what you need. Don't get crazy. Walter Davis has got a good idea. Got to find that valley in the mountains like an Atlas Shrugged. That would be nice. Right? I've been looking for that for a long time. Haven't figured that one out quite yet. Zero One Crom continuing his troll-like tendencies. I know you know nothing makes sense unless it's for the Empire, right? All right, any other subjects out there other than old omnibus stuff, fellas? Uh, Next on the chopping block here, we've been following the Bitcoin action for several months, and all that madness. So it's continued down. It's down. It's down to 7,200 roughly on today. That's a 45% decline since January 1st. So we all had all that run up to almost 20,000, and it bounced up and it's bounced back down, and it's even worse than that. It was 13,000 on January 1st, and we've all seen all that madness it had up to 20,000, but now it's lost 45% of its value this quarter, and there you have it. That's $114.9 billion that somebody has profited off of that market. Um, Mall Ninja, have you missed this whole thing? Is that what he has to do? Refresh? Can't you just push play? It should start automatically, right? Google being Google. Oh man, Crom, it's been live, right? Sorry, Mall Ninja. I guess we should have. I don't know. I don't know how we know that you couldn't see what was going on. That's crazy. But the price decline this quarter is the biggest decline in Bitcoin's history, short, brief history that it is. But we've talked about that being a speculative asset, and people are definitely making cash off of it and running. Regulatory scrutiny notwithstanding, there's lots of competition in other cryptocurrencies, and just that regulation that the government's putting on it, everybody's bailing. I think it's not quite delivering what people thought it was going to be. So that's your Bitcoin news. It's just not going anywhere soon as far as up or increase in value. Again, what's the true value? What's somebody willing to pay you to work for it? I guess. What are you willing to work to get a Bitcoin? That's the ultimate end of what it's worth. I would say that's not much. It's all baked in speculation. So that's the economic side today. Tesla's recalling 123,000 Model S cars. I thought Tesla was supposed to be different than other car manufacturers, like quality wise. Everybody's having recalls. Nobody can rely on anybody to build anything decent. Told them to move all their manufacturing out of California. They're paying all those people $50 an hour or whatever they're paying them, overpriced. Put that stuff together. All right, final story of end of sign of the apocalypse today. Just to make you mad, teen mob beats man to death on a Jersey street. Um, Gutenberg, New Jersey. So this fellow's going to explain what happened here, but sad state of affairs. You got just kids just killing people. Band fists and feet. They just beat him to death. Can't rationalize it. Eight kids beat a guy to death. Sad state. Fellow the interviewing there said he got attacked by him earlier too in the year. That's crazy. Somebody needs to shoot these kids. So the guy that was killed was a 36-year-old. So I think he was an old dude, which I kind of thought he might be an elderly guy, but just random beatings on the streets. Coming to a city near you, but it's the gun's fault. What's the carry regulations in New Jersey? You know, Walter Davis probably know. You probably can't carry in New Jersey, or it's probably near impossible. Sad state of affairs in America. You got kids randomly walking the streets like that without opposition. But folks, we're about ready to wrap it up. About 5 minutes left. Any other topics or interesting subjects for you all? Let me drop this in the side chat or in the description box. Sign of the apocalypse. The Turkish have wised up and are not expelling Russians. It looks like on this headline on Zero Hedge, they have a lot more mutual interest probably to not do so. So still got people out there today. Mall Ninja says, I gotta keep remembering people in the replay can see this, so Mall Ninja laughs at Bitcoin. I'm going to give my fiat currency for an imaginary currency. Exactly right. It's madness. It's like insanity. Tommy Boy was born on Good Friday in 1955. Are you sure there's gold in Fort Knox, Mall Ninja? Don't know if that's legit. That's a good barter system you got going there, 01 Crom. If you can swap that currency for gold, guns, ammo, guns, tools, and land, you're set. So Walter says there's no carry in New Jersey, even if you're a retired police. Well, that's dang scary. Oh, goodness. And you wonder why kids just walk the streets thinking they can beat on people. uh, you can do it. What are you talking about? He asked HTP, how many Iron Maiden cassettes do you have? You can do it. Who has a cassette anymore? I don't have any Iron Maiden cassettes. You can do it. We're in the 21st century. I just listen to what shows up on the radio. It's all radio driven. Iron Maiden gets played a lot, I guess. Well, you can set settings on there for on the satellite radio. You can set it to let you know when songs or groups you want to come on, and you can select them when they pop up. So it's all satellite radio driven. Yeah, Crum, I don't think there's gold in Fort Knox. I'm not counting on it. Tommy Boy has tons of cassettes. But what do you play them on? Where do you get a cassette player nowadays? All right, folks. Enjoy your spring-like weather out there, especially the East Coast. Hopefully nobody's flooding. Looks like you're still getting quite a bit of rain there in M. Long's territory, southern Indiana, Ohio. Yeah, all you folks look like you're still getting some flooding type action. Stay dry wherever you're doing. Everybody go out and have a great Friday. Hope you enjoy the chat. Just messing with me. Yeah, right. I figured. Uh, haven't heard anybody talk about cassettes in forever. Nobody has CDs anymore, right? But y'all have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Live free.